What up? What up? What up, party people? Happy Monday, everybody. It's another good day. This is the Grid and Grind Show brought to you by the In Off the Bench Podcast Network. I'm your host, Daniel Ball, and today we are talking championship material. We got the 2024 United Grid League Coach of the Year. He is the coach of the defending, reigning champions, the Atlanta Wild. They get to be champions for I don't know, I guess about another month and a couple weeks because grid season starts on May 24th down in Miami. So we'll talk all about that. We'll talk about Dan's backstory, and we'll talk about what it's like to build a championship program at the Atlanta Wild. But first, the In Off the Bench Podcast Network's Grid and Grind Show is brought to you by Jesus One Apparel. Take a bold step in faith by living and embodying the message of John 16:33. Jesus won and continues to win each and every day. Chinook Seedery, whether you're in the field or on the boardroom signing deals, Chinook helps you get the job done. 8 flavors, mild to wild. Go to your local gas station, convenience store, grocery store, pick up the best seeds in the game, Chinook Seeds. And finally, Old Dominic Distillery. Experience 150 years of tradition in the heart of downtown Memphis, from bourbon to vodka, whiskey to gin. Old Dominic's got you covered. Stop in today for a tour or just to pick up your favorite bottle. And with that, the lights can be kept on for another day. The business has been attended to. So let's get to the biggest interview in podcasting this week. Atlanta Wild head coach, the defending reigning champions of the United Grid League, and the 2024 United Grid League Coach of the Year, Dan Jackson. Dan, my man, what is up, brother? How we doing?
What's happening? Good morning.
Good morning. It's a blessed day, obviously, when we can get up and put our 2 feet on the ground and get it moving. I looked through your bio, looked at some things on the social, and obviously outside of being the head coach of the Wild, what's wild to me is that you are a swim coach too. Kennesaw Master swim coach. How does that come to be? Like, how do you become, is that something you always done? Is that just something that you picked up, later in life?
Oh, I'm a swimmer / swammer through and through. I swam in college.
Nice.
And I had accolades to make trials back in the day. And I want to say that I got close, but I always seemed to be a little larger than most swimmers and swammers back in the day. But I'm not going to say that I was fast. My definition of fast is, world record, right? That is by definition fast. So yeah, I just love swimming. I grew up in Bloomington, Indiana, where you can get a doctorate in the science of swimming. It's one of the very few institutions where you can, at the Councilman Center for the Science of Swimming at Indiana University. And I grew up there. So swimming is my life, really. That's my number one.
That's amazing. That you could actually just go to school and get a thorough education on the sport that you love to do. So was it more so like actually like the swimming portion, or is it a lot of like how to coach it?
So growing up, I was a part of a lot of the research that was done at the Councilman Center. And it was more like, okay, we have these world-class athletes. How are they world-class? We need to test this, that, and the other. And they used people like myself as like guinea pigs. For some of the testers that they did, some of the research studies they had going on. I guess the coaching side of it didn't come into play until later on, when I was a sophomore in college. Actually, Kyle Ruth, with a buddy of mine, real close buddy of mine, training partner of mine back in the day as well. He's a training think tank. He and I swam together, and then he coached a high school in the swim club there, Councilman Center, Indiana swim team, actually. And I was assistant coach under him, and that kind of sparked the whole beginning of coaching in general. Just from that point, I got involved with a plethora of sports. Like, you ever seen the movie Breaking Away?
No, I haven't. I'm familiar. I'm not a movie guy. I have a list of movies that I've seen, but I'm not, for whatever reason, like I don't know. Time commitment, I guess.
That's fair. Breaking Away was a movie that was filmed in the 70s. It's about a bicycle race called Little 500 at Indiana University. It's the Indy 500 with the Indy cars, right? So it's that, but on a 410-meter cinder track on fixed gear bicycles with four-man teams. I coached a little 5 team for 3 years. I coached a little bit of soccer, diving. Tried my best to do some like rec volleyball, and that didn't go well. But coaching is fascinating to me, and that kind of fast forwarding a little bit, so not to talk too much. That sparked finalizing my first master's in coach education and athlete development at Xavier.
I mean,
Mhm.
it just seems like, man, you have a brain like to coach people. Is it delivering knowledge, or is it like really just like taking an athlete, watching them grow and become something special? Like, what is it about it?
I was taught to have a keen eye for failure and appreciating it. It's delivering information is one thing, identifying failure, accepting failure, and then making that as your foundation to build upon. That's the side of coaching where I kind of live, and I don't know if that really answers your question entirely. Um, I'm a very weird person in that regard. That's that's my lens, and like in my mind, that answers your question. But I know to others, that's not going to make any ounce of sense.
I mean, but that just kind of shows you the level of thought that you have that other coaches don't. I mean, you're on a totally different wavelength when it comes to what you're thinking and the coaching, the processing, the analyzing of athletes and delivering, things and tools and strategies and development ideas that are going to make people be, like you said, not fail, because you know what it looks like and you know how to appreciate it and how to come from that. But obviously we got to talk grid. At what point in this coaching journey do you find grid? Is it something that you find because you're you got the coaching lens and you're just looking at different things and boom, grid pops up? Or is this someone tells you about it? Like, how do you find the sport?
Oh, well, I want to backtrack just quickly. I need to give credit to the people who helped me develop this lens. And I mentioned Kyle Ruth, that's one, but like Griffin Raleigh is a big one as well. Pat, Amanda, Kyle Spears, Mia, RJ, Tom, pretty much the entire Atlanta Wild roster helped quite a bit this most recent season. But the big one, the foundation, was essentially 2 people: my wife and my high school swim coach, who was, rest in peace, he was best man at my wedding. He was my swim coach. He was my best friend growing up. He laid down that full foundation. So like I can't take firm credit for what you're saying. I appreciate it, but that credit goes to all those people. And the getting it, moving on from that to finding grid. Actually, I used to listen to the Barbell Shrugged a lot, and I remember hearing them talk about the NPFL. The NPGL at first was the National Pro Fitness League,
Right.
NPFL, and like the NFL didn't like that very much. So obviously it changed to the NPGL. I watched it the season of 2014, 2015, and then I actually did the trials. Well, I don't remember what they were called then, but like what would be similar to the American Grid Trials now, but for the NPGL. And Kyle Ruth again. He was involved in the across the world, and I was in the stage of following his footsteps there for a while. So I was involved with it, and Kyle started moving up the ladder with like, programming for people and networking. And he was programming for a dude named Steve Plattick, who was the Masters athlete on the Miami Surge in 2014 and 2015. It was required to have one Masters athlete on excuse me, on the grid league team. Sorry, allergies around here are killing me. Um, so Steve contacted Kyle to see if he wanted to be an assistant coach for the Miami Surge. Kyle couldn't do it. Kyle put me in contact with Steve, Mather, and Ruby, and I went through the interview process of there. Bing, bang, boom, 2016 season. I was the assistant coach for the Miami Surge in for that year. And like that's the story. It's an unfortunate, in my mind, a fortunate but unfortunate story of like the good old boy system, right?
Yeah.
Like you know who you know, and that can leverage very positive things. I mean, if it wasn't for that right there, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you at all. It's kind
So
of wild.
clearly, I mean, sometimes it is about who you know, but
Yep.
I would say, for you, yeah, who you know is important in this regard, but also like you bring a lot to the table. And I don't just say that because you're talking to me right now. I say that because every athlete I've talked to, when we talk about coaching, like your name is at the top of the list. It's just the mind that you have and what you do, how you handle athletes, how you talk to them. It's like you give athletes what they need. And I'm not trying to pump your head up. You can go back and listen to an episode with Griffin Raleigh, an episode with Amanda Fisher. I got Carrie and Tyler Billington coming on. I'm sure they're going to say a lot of the same things, but like it is true. Like you are great at what you do. Um, but what is the journey then from the surge to the wild?
That was a fun one. Um, so when the NPGL went under or went down or whatnot, there was a bit of a lull for me in the grid world from like the end of 2017 to like the start of 2019. Um, I didn't really lose contact with Mather and Ruby all too much because the Florida Grid League was like it was growing, not as much as it has, now that it's the United Grid League. Um, I was always keeping an eye on it, watching it because I love the sport.
Right.
It's the only sport, in my opinion, in the coaching world. Well, excuse me, I'll say subjectively in the coaching world where your heart rate will get up to 190 standing and watching and not actually executing. So the excuse me, when I started noticing the Florida Grid League getting more and more and more growth, and then there was I had a call. I can't remember if there's a post that sparked this call, but I had a call with Mather about starting like a league with the Florida Grid League and then under what was going to be the American Grid League back in the day under that umbrella. So I co-founded with Joseph Ditzel the Atlantic Grid League, and unfortunately, we were only able to get one Grid 6, if you will, in Columbia, South Carolina at Cottontown CrossFit. And that's actually where I met Tyler and Carrie, and Nick Chappie. All three of those, like that's our origin story. That's the beginning of our villain arc was at that at that Grid 6 in Columbia. The following, like, less than a year later, quarantine happened and then died. So from there, Adam Muir contacted me, the original owner of the Gainesville Wild, to ask me to be an assistant coach with him during the AS1 tournament in December of 2020.
Okay.
And then that's the story. Like there was that small like year and a half, almost 2 year lull, and then it grew to start a league. Quarantine killed it, and then it got me into this position with the United Grid League.
And so, as an assistant with the Gainesville, how do you transition then to the head coach?
Lots of failure and taking in information and learning vicariously through failure and using a skill that my wife greatly tried to teach me for years, and that's observation. I mean, that's essentially. I failed hard for the first year. I'm not even going to say what I did my first year as a head coach, but it got me in a lot of trouble, and not just with the league or my family, but also with some friends. And we can talk about that off air because it's definitely not something I should say here. Because it's a lot of I've in my mind I've been perceived to be like the villainous coach for a while because I kind of would do things without asking permission and just ask for forgiveness.
I
Which
mean, sometimes you got to do that. I mean,
yeah. I mean, in this case, in my opinion, I don't regret doing it at all,
uh-huh.
other than like it having the negative impact on my family a little bit. But I mean, it's steps, in my opinion, that needed to happen because that's what professional sports do with what I
Yeah.
was doing. And, people needed to step up. And if you look at the team rosters right now, this season and last season, like coaches stepped up, but this sounds super conceited that I'm the catalyst for a movement, and that's not what I'm trying to say. But my sister would say if it looks like a duck, sounds like a duck, and walks like a duck, it's probably a duck. Like similar patterns I see are being followed that I was doing that got me in trouble. And honestly, like there's been more than one person telling me that's what happened. So I guess I should pat myself on the back for assisting in that, but at the same time, I could also just go fuck myself as
I
well.
mean, if you think about it, if you're wanting to be a revolutionary or revolutionize a type of sport, let's say, or a profession or what you do, you want to be revolutionary. You have to think outside the box, and sometimes the rules, you gotta figure out a way in between the rules to really get accomplished what you know is right and what you know is going to propel things forward. Because what you don't want to do is be in a stagnant state where no growth is happening, because everybody then becomes complacent, and then it just becomes a boring thing and it'll fizzle out. So, I
Yeah.
mean, I look at it as maybe a revolutionary thing that you're trying to do, and obviously it was, because everybody is starting to copy and follow. When
Well,
you,
mhm.
I was just going to say, when you look back on it, do you look at it as a villainous thing? You're the villain, but is it kind of like, do you appreciate the fact now that, like, they may not like me, but they're doing exactly what I'm doing?
I try not to view it through that lens as much as I can, even though I just said all that shit.
Hmm.
Oh, so am I allowed to cuss? Sorry.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Okay. It's taken. There have been at least 6 players on our team, and then 4 on others and a couple of the team owners and coaches that they have agreed that, or they've told me that, like, this is why it's happening. It's because you meaning me did this. And as you can see, like when you've been saying stuff to like expand my head, like, I don't do well taking compliments or accepting the fact that, like, nah, man, you did do this. Like, this is true. It's like, well, I'll say thanks, but I don't want to, because I was just doing what I thought was best for, one, the league,
Hmm.
and then 2, myself, my family, and the athletes. Because I mean, shit, it took 5 years of my involvement almost to win a championship, and it's definitely been a hard fought battle. And we can obviously talk about that if you want to a little bit throughout that part. Um, I don't know. I guess answering your question, yay. I,
Very
I don't.
humble, very humble. I mean, I get it. It's hard. It is hard, and I think especially with athletes and people in sport, like I think most athletes that are good at what they do, and people in sport that are good at what they do, it's hard for them to take compliments. I don't know why. It just feels funny. It's almost like, just like you said, thanks. I get, like, what do you say to that? But let's talk about last season. Obviously, you talked about this 5-year growth of trial and error and failure and analyzation and getting the people, and you end up winning it all. But take me back to the beginning, if you can, to 2024. Um, when you construct a roster and you're going into match one of last season, do you think like, man, I think we have a legitimate shot of winning a championship? Or are you like, well, let's see how this goes? I think we have the good people, but I still don't really know.
I definitely thought we were going to win last year. Going into the first match for sure. Um, and then like the execution of the first match, I wouldn't say it solidified that, but with all the hardship that happened behind the scenes and how long the season was last year, that helped set us up for great success, right? Um, Now that being said, a big reason as to why I thought we were going to win last year before the first match even started was because I had data on pretty much every single player on every single team, minus the brand new ones.
Yeah.
And one thing, I'm gonna give one secret during this talk, but like I love it when athletes post their stuff on social media. I scour stories and I've got your data like right there. So hopefully you're posting something fake. But every coach I'm sure does that. The part that's different is I've been on the coaching side of this so long, and I have a lot of input from other sports and that observation skill that my wife taught me, that skill kept getting built up by those I was beginning to surround myself with more and more and more, i.e. the Blacklisted crew and this Atlanta Wild crew this past year, and the former Gainesville Wild crew. Teaching the skill of like objective observation, that allows you to see like, okay, this is actually a true approach to what they're going to do due to this level of deductive reasoning, or they're just testing this out for the league or for their team, or this is a skill creative video or development video, however you want to call it. Like you can separate them in those categories, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
The part that sets it all apart is another level of narcissism here. I can tell from a couple athletes' videos what the strategy throughout the entire match is likely to be for the team that's about to go. And that's specifically because there are a select few players that if you catch their tone and how they're about to kind of how you catch their tone in the caption or like the attitude that's with the video they put up, in most cases so far, I could develop their lineup for them, and I'd be very surprised if I was off by more than three substitutions.
Right. And so obviously, when you talk about you have data on people from social media, what is your message to your players then about posting stuff on social media? Because there's sponsors and things that they're going to be required to post certain things on, but obviously, like if they're personal training or coaching, like a lot of the clients want to see their coach doing these things. And so, like, what's your stance to your players on social media and what they put out there?
I used to say don't do it or post something fake just to be an asshole. And then I realized, you know what? These people are adults. I'm not about to micromanage a bunch of adults. If they want to do it, they can do it, because everything I just described to you previously, all of my secrets could be out, but you still got to beat us.
Right.
Now, Arnold Schwarzenegger said, like, you can do everything exactly the way I do, but you still have to beat me, and you won't. I mean, now he's in full control of like himself. I'm in full control of the things I can control, which is autisming the fuck out of the roster and the lineup and the data collection. I
Right.
can't control these, 20 adults. And if they need to do this, all right, go for it. Because like what matters is the development throughout the season to the doubleheader and into the playoffs.
Yeah. And
Uh,
it's such a short, like, regular season. Like, there's not a lot of regular season matches. So, like, you have to be on, and your analysis of other teams has to be pretty accurate to give you guys a step ahead. But then players have to go out and execute. And if you don't execute, like, I hate to say it, like, even in match one, like, if you don't execute to the fullest potential, like, you put yourself in a deficit and in a hole.
yeah, there are uncontrollables, right? In the sport of grid, like there's just like anything, there's going to be reffing errors, there's going to be mechanical issues, and like no, there are times where the rule book didn't have an answer to like something that occurred. So like it didn't fully work in the favor or whatnot. But just like any sport, it's never one call that ruins the outcome or that decides the outcome. Um, so I agree that like you got to be on it, especially right out the gate. However, what I'll argue is like if you do put records in play, we were 2-2 and we won.
Yeah.
In the past, there's also been teams who have lost the first match and still won. I believe that happened to the Aces one season and the Lions one season. I could be wrong on that. It's escaping me at the moment, but I'm pretty sure that very few teams have gone into playoffs undefeated and then won. It's almost
Yeah.
like it's a curse to go into playoffs and into championship undefeated. Um,
Yeah.
but excuse me, the cool thing about all of it is, yes, you have to be on, but the only way to be fully on the first match is if you have been hyper selective about who's on the team at the very start.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, you got to be hyper selective in the sense of, okay, they got to fit the team dynamic and be willing to develop. But if you want them to, like, if you want that and pristine performance in the first match, better have some money to pay a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
That is,
that's the only way it's going to happen, at least right now.
yeah, that's something, I mean, I'll get your take on it. Like, as far as like the progression of the league, like that's obviously a place where as a professional league, like we need to be able to get to, right? Like being
Mm-hmm.
able to pay the players. Um, I don't know what that would be and what it would look like, but I know like players should have some type of income other than if you win a championship, you get to split whatever prize, is given to you at the end of the season. I know that's
Mm-hmm.
probably a tough reason why maybe we don't well, I'll ask you, do you think that we still get in the grid league? Do you still think we get the best of the best? Or
No,
because we're not okay.
no, the
Um,
best of the best. It's getting better.
yeah,
One example is, Eric and Paula have always been very high level gymnasts, or bodyweight
right.
specialists, right? And I don't know if you've seen Eric's videos lately, but that dude shredded again. Like, he's gotten really strong and maintained his body weight stuff. So like, he's going to be a massive force. But Mather was saying earlier this season, or on, I believe on our league wide call, the goal was to get like Olympians, NFL players, like, et cetera, to like fit the specialties, right? Um, Laura Donna is joining the Palms this year. She's a former Olympic gymnast. And then you have Wes Kitts joining the Venom, the former Olympic weightlifter, right? And like that's it's starting to build that. Now, granted, Wes Kitts was also on the New York Rhinos back in the day with NPGL, but still, like, there were Olympians, or I don't, yeah, there were Olympians like Jessica Phillips, or it was at the NPGL level as well, and so on and so forth. It is getting back to that point. I mean, grid's more popular now than it was with NPGL, as far as I understand.
Yeah.
Um, so it's working on getting the best of the best, but we are still far from the best of the best in the grid world. Like, there's a big difference between being an Olympic weightlifter, an Olympian Olympic weightlifter, and an Olympic gymnast, an Olympic gymnast. Like, and what you got to do on the grid floor. I'm going to reference Dmitry Klokov. Dmitry
Mhm.
Klokov was on the Baltimore Anthem in 2015, and the ladder was very different. They had like 700 barbells, and you had 7 minutes to get like your entire team through. There's a different scoring system. It was the thruster ladder, and that dude did the first thruster bar, which I think was like 75 pounds, and the last one was 385. It took him all 7 minutes. Like, the Baltimore Anthem got skunked
Yeah.
in that one race. It's like, yay,
I mean,
congratulations.
there's grid speed and just sometimes like having to walk up to a barbell and just hit it. Like, especially in a ladder, like you got, I mean, roughly like 20 seconds, maybe a little more to go clear 4 bars in the ladder
Mm-hmm.
now. And if you don't, like, you're not helping the team because what you need to do is be able to clear all 4 bars, and you need to do it as quickly as possible. You don't have time to approach every bar and set up and get, all these things that, Olympic weightlifters will do. Um,
Yep.
but when
If you want to hit all 4 bars, you got to do it in 23.996 or faster.
there you go, that'll give that's and I'm sure you guys practice that, right? You go and
Mm-hmm.
or don't even I foresee you being like, don't even step foot on the grid if you can't, like, you're not going to be in the ladder if you can't clear all four in 23 seconds?
Only if you have. So I'll use the example of the Sharks and us last season. The Sharks and us last season, we had 10 people. If we chose, we had 10 people that could clear the clean ladder in 20 seconds or faster. If the clean ladder was in that championship match, it likely would have been a tied score of 100 to 100. The difference was the clean ladder that did happen in the playoff match. We scored 96, they scored 94, and we didn't go against each other. And like I think the aces were 89 or 80. No, they were 80. It doesn't matter. The point being is that's when the 23.996 seconds or faster matters. When you have that volume of people, that's to get all 10 players through and under the cap. Then you have rollover time as well, right? So if somebody hits only bars 2, 3, and 4, and they take 15 seconds to do that, then you got little less than 9 seconds to roll over to the next athlete or whoever, right? And like that's you got to know as a coach, you got to be able to relay that information to your athletes of, hey, motherfucker, hit the element and meet the standards and go faster. You got to train urgency with meeting the standards. Like it's a fun balance in the ladder specifically. And then the strategy involved with the longer ladders, the snatch, hang, snatch, thruster, and double deadlift clean. And then we'll find out the sandbag ladder this year is going to be, those strategies are different, but they're more fun, in my opinion.
I mean, it's new elements too. Nothing like, I think it's similar in the sense, like, I think the athletes that you have, they can adapt to being able to do that. But there is like a different, like little bit of like specific technique that you got to do with certain of those new elements. So it's going to bring a lot of fun. And like you said, the more you open and expand the league up, the more different specialized people that you can get to do certain things. And it just brings more eyes and more traffic and more people and better athletes into the grid. Looking at last season, number 2 seed, and you mentioned, you thought at the beginning of the season you guys had what it took to win a championship. So when you enter the playoffs as the 2 seed, your mindset's still pretty clear. Like, guys, if we execute, we're going to win everything. Like, just go out and execute. Or is there still like a little bit of like getting people to like buy in and believe, just because you're the number 2 seed, that don't mean you don't have the ability to win it?
I don't think the buy-in and belief part played a role at that point anymore.
Yeah.
Without getting too detailed, we as a team grew and developed fantastically together. There's a lot of drama, just like any team would experience, but a lot of the drama, positive or negative, I believe it was Julius from Remember the Titans that said this to Gary Bertier. He said, attitude reflects leadership, Captain. So thankfully, my wife is amazing, and she gave me a bit of a lecture in Vegas beforehand, one of our matches, and it gave me a lot to reflect upon. Mm-hmm. That's where the buy-in for like the team to buy into what I'm trying to promote, etc. That's where it finally hit. Oh shit, this is what I need to do. We did it. Come playoff time, results speak for themselves. Okay. There was a lot of things that I needed to learn, and thankfully, like, not only was this team this past season like a lot of great athletes, a lot of great people, but I've been friends with a good number of them for a while. So they weren't afraid to be like, look, Dan, look, motherfucker, you need to be doing this. You need to be doing that. But like, not saying it in that manner, saying it in a way that's like, dude, this is going to be helpful. You want to be an elite coach? I've been on elite level teams. Follow this pattern and be objective and stop being a dipshit. Right. And it was that in combination with what the things my wife was telling me, because my wife was in the Army. She got out as a captain. Like, she has leadership qualities that are to the nth degree, you
Right.
know? So like her input is beyond, I listen to it, you know? And like there are a few people I've neglected to give credit to, and I apologize. Like RJ and Blake specifically are two other ones that I learned a great deal from. Blake Kidder has been a we've been phenomenal buddies. I'll say I'll say now. Um, we've gone back and forth, but those two, I need to lump them in just because like they're a part of that group that helped the buy-in happen. You know, do your job, team above all, communicate. Those are the three biggest things that had to happen. And they say, Dan, you do your job, we'll do ours. Get your shit together, we'll get our shit together, and then we're all going to funnel down and meet on the same path. And then
Yeah. I
that's
mean,
what happened.
when
That
I
was our
talk to,
mindset. Sorry.
no, I was going to say, when I talked to Blake, you know, he reiterated exactly what you're saying. Like he's like, I don't necessarily, like, I asked him about being a leader. I said, like, because when I look at him, I was like, you talk like you have a leadership capability. And he was like, I don't necessarily look at myself as the leader. I just want to do my job and do it well. And that way everyone else will do their little job and do it well. And then, like you said, it funnels into what the end product and the result of what you're looking for is.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, you know, hearing you say that, it seems like that's the easy, like, that seems like it's just the easy thing for everyone to do. Just worry about your piece, your role. Everything else, like, it's like when I was coaching baseball, I would always hear coaches like harp on the little things. Make sure you get the little things, and it's so true. All
Mm-hmm.
big problems are a bunch of little shit that you don't take care of.
Yep.
So if you take care of all those little things, you really don't have these big rocks that you have to like break apart. Like, you usually do pretty good. So, um,
I love that you said that, honestly, because it's beyond true. And this is going to upset people. So I'm going to apologize preemptively. You know, you asked earlier, do we have the best of the best in grid yet? And I said no, because we don't have it's getting to that point. We don't have the whatever, the hyper specialists and blah 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 blah. Stupid answer. Another part of that is like still having a bunch of CrossFitters be a part of grid. You have a mentality of people, and this is speaking anecdotally, right? You have a mentality of people who want to do everything, or they think they should be doing everything, and like they are showing, well, I can do it. It's like, okay, that's great. Yes, you can. Like, your data is here, and I need you here, 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 and here, here. Your craft is perfected over here. We don't need you over here. Why are you getting butthurt? Type of deal. And that that in my mind, it goes with what you just said, Blake had said, and what you're just talking about with like the little things. If you can execute your little things perfectly and quickly, efficiently, etc., that sets up the team to win a championship. All of that to end with, when you have a grid team of some people doing a whole bunch of shit, that's bad for a championship team. Now, there's some outliers, right? Some outlier seasons, and there's some outlier players, i.e. Griffin and Amanda, right? But when it comes down to the whole thing, like 2 seasons ago, Griffin and Amanda were top 2 impact score players, but we didn't even make playoffs.
Wow.
The Aces barely cracked the top 5 with, I think, one player on multiple matches. They had some of the lower impact score averages, and they won. We kind of did the same thing this past season. We won. The year previous to that, the Lions, same deal. Not everyone, you got to have your role perfected, and you got to accept that if you can hit it at 100% perfectly, your team's going to win because you've done your job. You're setting up your next teammate to do their job, and it's just a domino effect from there. I think I rambled on that too much. That's going to get me in a lot of trouble.
No, well, the reality is that an impact score is greater when you are in more things.
Yeah,
Because if I understand impact score correctly, every element has a rating. And depending on what element you do, you get a higher rating or a lower rating. And those factor into the impact score. And if you're in a match more often, that means there's more opportunity to create impact. But
right.
like what you're saying is, I don't necessarily need you in every race. I need you in the two things that you're fucking dynamite at, and I need you to do them well. And then
Yep.
the next person, the one thing that you're good at, I need you in to do that. Then the next person might be three. I mean, you don't like you said, having people who are limited like limited to a couple of really good things, that's okay. And I think you don't have to be like in CrossFit, this well-rounded, good at everything athlete to be the best. Like
Nope.
it's clearly not CrossFit. I've seen it. I've experienced it. So
If only the
um
people on social media bitching about our movement standards and whatnot would know that.
would know right.
They'll get there.
Um
No, yeah, but that's it's a cool concept in my mind. That's what is great about grid, and also that is a key thing. Like the group of people we have this season, they don't they don't put a dollar amount on the number of reps that they do, and that's something in the past. Is like I'm not going to spend $500 to do 8 ring muscle ups.
right.
Like, well, those 8 ring muscle ups are a make or break for the team, and you're the best at them, and we need you for those 8 ring muscle ups, like badly. Like,
Yeah.
well, I'm not going to spend that money. It's like, well, fuck, man. Then you're not a grid athlete.
Right.
Like,
Um so talk me through the championship match. You guys honestly, there's not really in my eyes, watching it as a viewer and a fan, like there's not really a lot to talk about. You guys dominated, and I don't care. You might put a lot of coach speak in this, Dan, but I'm not going to let you. You guys dominated the semifinals and really dominated the finals. So much so that you didn't really even have to participate in a race, and you didn't like you pretty much closed the door prior to the match even being over from a math standpoint. And when you look at all that in the season combined, like you got to be satisfied, or maybe satisfied is not the right word, but like proud of what you were able to accomplish, but more so proud of what the team was able to accomplish.
definitely the latter
Yeah.
for sure. Um, because, like I said earlier, like, winning last year, I'll put it this way: it bothers me that I got the Coach of the Year award. It bothers me a lot. I don't like it. I'm thankful, right? Like, I'm never not going to be thankful that that to me wasn't deserved or earned because, like, yeah, I did my job, but they did the work. And I will say, to shut the fuck up on that stuff, we had to dominate the first 7 races because of what Jack and Jill was going to lead us into, and because of what we knew was going to happen during the female triad.
Right.
Now, unfortunately, in my history as a coach, I don't do a good job of really honing in on that race. Um, I it, that that the triads specifically have been a thorn in my ass. Um, but we this was the first year that I was allowed to fully do my job and people saw it. And I'll just say, like, I was correct with every single ladder except for one, and that was with a missed barbell by one athlete. That was just a very big surprise. And I'm not going to say who it was or what it was, just because I'm not that much of a dick. um, but like down to the 100th split on every single barbell of each athlete, I was dead on. And that comes, through the analysis of it all. But because of that info, we had to fully dominate because we didn't have anybody that could do Jack and Jill at the very end. And I want to ask you a question.
Okay.
What's your opinion on me not sending anybody out during Jack and Jill?
I think if you're trying to win, I see it. as a competitor, it's like I want to compete no matter what, just because like in my heart and my soul, like that's who I am. It's not quitting. It's not like giving up. It's not like, I just still want to go out and be like, they're not going to fucking beat me. Like, you will put me out there and I will do a job and I will win. Like, that's kind of like what would fuel me. So, like, as a player, I guess, like, I would want to do it. But as a coach, like, I can see the game within the game of why. So I don't
Mm.
know, like I'm kind of politically answering that question, but it really
I mean, you can
depends
give your
on.
honest opinion. It's fine.
I mean, that's it. Like if I was the coach, I would do exactly what you did. If I was the player, I would want to race it and be a part of it just because like I'm competitive. Like I'll be damned if someone is just going to beat me because I give it to them, you know.
Mm.
They're
Yeah,
going to have to earn it.
yeah, and I did hear that from a good number of people. Not a single person from our team said that. And you've spoken with the majority of the
Yeah.
players on this team. Like they're hyper competitive as well.
Mhm.
The easy part to get everyone to buy into that, and I don't know if any of them have mentioned it to you, is well, because we literally had no one to be able to do an element.
Yeah.
So why fatigue anybody knowing that the triad had newer elements and old Dan here fucked up with the triad. I said it was kettlebell swings and not kettlebell snatches because like I don't know what the hell I was smoking. So like quite literally 10 minutes before the female triad happened, it was kettlebell snatches. Single arm kettlebell snatches is when my team found out. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, fuck. And Amanda just ripped into me. I was like, yeah, that's deserved. Because I fucked that up big time. So, like, not only is there not the stress, is there the added stress of, like, all right, not kettlebell swings, it snatches. Oh, shit. Well, at least we have this Jack and Jill to rest, right?
Yeah.
So that was the easy buy-in. So we went in the back and, like, finalized the strategy and whatnot. And I got yelled at a little more, which is okay. You know, I admitted my faults. At least I think I did. And bing, bang, boom, there it was. But no, I will say, you asked earlier if there was still okay. We need to get more. We still need to get the buy-in and so on and so forth. Look at that adversity right there. That's a pretty big one in the
Yeah.
championship match, and the team was still able to roll forward because like it wasn't me just coaching them. Every single athlete on that floor was a coach as well at some point, and some of them coach some of the highest skill sets in their respective sport. Like Griffin has, I think he'll have two, potentially a third team games athlete this year under his programming. Um, Blake's daughter is, I think she's close to being a national champion in track. So like
Yeah.
those are just two examples, you know. Um, so they know how to adapt, and they don't even start it on like who all Tom coaches, right?
Yeah.
Um, so excuse me, I've kind of lost my train of thought here. You wanted me to dissect the match a little bit, right?
Yeah, just
Sorry.
what it's like, knowing that what it took to just wrap up the match, like without having to do all 11 races, knowing mathematically prior to the match even ending, you're like, we got this, like we're good.
Well, I don't know how many of the athletes you've talked to that share this with you, but I usually have on average like 70 to 80 lineups created for like any and all circumstances, and not all of them are written out. I film myself while driving, talking through them a lot
Yeah.
of times. I have an hour plus commute to coach every day.
Do you
So I
do you
have
find
some,
yourself overthinking it sometimes?
no,
No?
on the times where I have, my wife, or actually, that was back in the day. Nowadays, I will question at certain pieces, am I overthinking this? If the answer is yes, what comes up is either Griffin's voice, Mia's voice, Blake's voice, Amanda, Kyle's, Tom's. usually it's a phrase along the lines of like, you can only control what you can control, stop being a bitch and shit like that or whatnot. Or I'll just straight up call someone, like one of them.
Yeah.
Like one of the people that I won't say I deem a leader on the team, because they're all leaders. I'm not a believer that there's like a captain
Yeah.
on any grid team, because all of them are to their own degree. Um, but I do believe like certain personalities within their coaching profession, they will have the objective eye that I need, and therefore that's when I'll select, hey, I need to call this person or message them right now, because this is on the border of being overthought. I need this question answered. So I would
That's
say beforehand, yeah, there was a lot of overthinking. Now, no,
that's huge. As far as from a growth standpoint of being able to do that as a coach, like to
it's fun.
to see where, all right, I'm having a really tough time and like I need someone to help walk me through this, because a lot of coaches just be like I have the final say in everything. It's my way or the highway. Like, you know,
It's so stupid. I'm
yeah, I
sorry.
mean,
I'm sorry. That's so dumb.
but you see it like, in
Yeah,
professional sports, it's like, no, this is how it's gonna be. And I say that, just being a baseball player and multiple levels, like I've seen it with some of my own coaches.
I
It's
believe you. You
if
coach in
it this
Tennessee, right?
yeah,
No,
yeah.
you're in Florida now.
I'm in Florida, but I coached at University of Tampa. I, played, back in Memphis. And so like I've seen it.
Memphis has got some good ball.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Um, so let's get into 2025. At what point do you start focusing on 2025? When do you stop going, all right, we're no longer the champion? Or are you still in that mindset until match one or practice? Or because you got to be able to celebrate the victory that you had. That's always important. But at what point do you stop celebrating and go, all right, now my focus is next season?
Once I walked from the venue to the vehicle to drive home, that's when it stopped.
That long drive, you started mapping it out. All right,
Well,
so
no, so I actually started mapping it out well before then. Most of the grid coaches, as far as I'm aware, actually, I don't know. I don't know if they all do or not, but I won't speak for them. I'll speak for myself. I think about, I'm already thinking about 2026 and 2027.
fair enough.
So, like the 2023 season, I was already thinking about this one. I don't know, I have a weird fucking brain, dude. Like, I can compartmentalize those things and then hash the thoughts up later. Sometimes my ADHD and spectrum related activities behind the eyes will make itself known, and then it'll pop up. But that's the joy of having close friends like Griffin, Kyle, Amanda, Pat, etc. Mia. It's like, Dan, shut up, focus. Okay.
So when you're
And
when you're focusing on, let's say, 2027, all right,
mhm.
is it like, are you like building it like a story where 2025 you're going to hope that this happens so that in 2026 you can take a layer further and hope that this happens? That way when you're doing this compartmentalizing and planning of 2027, it flows? Or does 2027 look completely different and it has nothing to do with anybody or anything else within the Atlanta Wild today? It's a crazy question.
So,
I just wonder, like
well,
how
it's not
how you get to
crazy.
where you can do that. I'm jealous. I want to be able to do that.
I'm a big Alan Watts fan.
Mhm.
Um, the future is not existent. We create it based on our actions now, right? The actions that I'm doing now is what will bleed into 2 years from now, in theory. And honestly, that's based on, it's still a theory, just because like I've only been in the Florida Grid League or United Grid League now for 5 years, right? the growth that I saw the first 3 seasons is very different compared to the past two.
Right.
And the past 2 seasons has bled into what this is now. However, the recurring pattern has been create a team out of thin air, create a team out of thin air. So that piece in its own right is like, okay, the next step for 2027, I need to plan on creating another team out of thin air. Okay. What without shattering the core foundation, but building upon it.
Right.
So that's ultimately like a very anticlimactic answer to like the 2027 outlook. But that's because it's kind of like a web diagram, if you will, right? Whenever we're in elementary school and we're first learning how to make our to write, we have our little
Yeah.
web diagram of our topic sentence and then pop, 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 pop for each paragraph or whatever. There's a lot. There's uncontrollables that can happen. Like God forbid, like another quarantine happens, or the
Right.
recession that we're about to go into or are into, like really fucks everything over. Like who the hell knows, I have to have a plan as the coach 2 seasons from now because I'm not going to get surprised by poof, you got to create another team. Like we
Right.
lost people this season that I was not expecting to lose, but because of what happened with the Gainesville Wild, going into the 2023 season, I'm pretty close to ready and adaptable, or
Well,
I'm able to adapt to that now. Does that answer that question thoroughly
yeah.
enough? Because there is more, but I don't want to bore anybody.
No, I get it, but I do want to hit on what you just said.
Hmm.
You talk about constructing a team out of thin air, and you talk about having core people that you think are going to be there, then all of a sudden they're not there. So let's talk brass tacks here. Obviously, the roster this year is going to look different, correct?
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, from what I can see, there's no Griffin, there's no Amanda. Two big names, obviously. Now, I'm not saying that you aren't filling those, but I think we can all assume that it is really hard to fill the shoes of a Griffin Raleigh, and it's really hard to fill the shoes of Amanda Fisher. Like
Hmm.
I believe that they're just that good athletes. You take on there, now Blake Kidder is now with the Sharks, and so
Hmm.
that's another piece. We do have, obviously Sydney coming back, David McKellar, you got Tyler, Carey, you got Tom, you got Matt, you got you got a core group. But when you look at the roster that you've constructed, was it the roster that you had pictured 2 years ago or even last year when you say that you're planning for the future all the time?
Yeah, it's pretty close.
Nice. Nice.
We
And so
there's
what is
actually it's a little bit above what I anticipated maintaining
nice?
this year.
Uh, so, when you look at the team in 2025, the target is now solidified on your back. Everyone is looking to beat you. What is the message to the team? I mean, is there a message about that? Do you even care? Like, or do you embrace the idea? Yeah, like bring me your best fucking shot. Like, you'll see.
I don't think we have a target on our back to be beat.
No,
I think that people are viewing us as the underdogs.
really
Yeah,
interesting.
and it's because it's a lot of that is because like you can see almost every team's roster now. Um, like go look at the Sharks roster, look at the Brigades roster. I mean, I could say look at blah blah blah. Look at all teams' rosters. This is going to be the most competitive grid season I've ever been a part of. And I can confidently tell you on paper right now, the Wild, we do have the most difficult mesh lineup. And that's a piece to why I think people are viewing us as the underdogs. But like, I I don't believe that we're being taken seriously at all, and I love that mostly because we'll find out. I don't want to divulge too much or like start a bunch of shit talk or whatnot. But I said earlier in this podcast, like coaches got to be hyper diligent with their roster and who they're signing.
Right.
We took we meaning myself, John and Mia, aside from like life happening, we did take an extensive amount of time to finalize our roster because we were being extremely selective with who is going to be on the team. And it may not be this year, or it could be this year. Everyone just have to keep their eyes out. And if you don't, if people haven't placed a target on our back, they probably should. And it not because like I think we're the greatest, but you everyone's got to be on their game. Otherwise, we're going to capitalize on it.
Yeah, well put. I mean, obviously, when you know the roster better than anybody, and we talked about specializing and having people and doing their role, and it seems like you're constructing a roster for just that. And if everyone wants to, overlook you, it's probably going to be a mistake. I mean, you've been there. You know what it's like to be in a championship. You know what it's like to be, I would say, like this number 2, maybe the underdog in a championship, and you know what it's like to absolutely put your foot on someone's throat and just dominate and win it. And that says a lot. And when you have the people who have experienced that coming back, and you have enough of those people, like it's a recipe for people not to overlook you. I'm telling you, like if y'all are out there overlooking the Wild, maybe you shouldn't. Because they're pretty good. But
Yeah,
May 20,
there's some no names that people shouldn't ignore.
well, I have a feeling at the end of the season they will no longer be no names.
I agree with you.
May 24th, Miami-Dade County Fair and Exposition at the Miami International Fitness Expo. It's a rematch of the championship. It's the Wild taking on the Sharks. When you look at that, is there any extra excitement that goes into it because it's the Sharks and it's the team that you beat last year? Or is it just, hey, it's match 1, let's go after it?
It's match 1, let's go after it. I mean, so many things have changed on both rosters to a degree. It's a new season. The slate's clean. I don't give a fuck. Like we're gonna let's race.
Let's go.
Like, let's go.
Now, big question. When you see your friend Blake Kidder, is it fuck that guy? Like, or is it I like you, but not right now?
Yeah, fuck that guy. No. I would never go up to Blake Kidder and say "fuck you, man," because I'd end up dead.
Ever,
no.
Not ever.
No, it's Blake and I go, so far back. I mean, I kind of felt that way the first time he signed with the Sharks. He's like, dude, the hell, man. But like, Blake is a very objective person. Like, he has the reasons to do what he wants to do. I mean, look at it from his perspective. He won last year with a good number of the original Wild. He wants to win again with the rest of the number of the original Wild. I've had to create a team out of thin air to a degree. The Sharks are coming back with almost a full roster, same as last season. In Blake's position, you've been a part of the sport since 2020. You've been on an undefeated team 3 seasons in a row and lost the championship. You get a season off because things couldn't work out, and then you end up winning. Which option would you take out of those two? The perceptive guarantee or the risk?
Yeah.
I mean, grit is still a pay-to-play sport.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
no, I have no hard feelings toward Blake at all. Like, he and I, we talked about it. He's very open with me, and
yeah,
I'm an objective person. Like, look, I'm a scientist. I love empirically backed stuff. I couldn't argue with his reasoning. He's like, well, fuck you, guy. No, like, I'm just glad Blake is still a part of the sport. Do I want us to beat him? Absolutely, I do.
Yeah.
But no ill feelings at all.
No, I asked that because I like Blake. He's such a good guy, but you got to razz him a little bit, and
of course, yeah.
But one thing, and if I don't want any, like, you can choose to talk about this or not, but I have to bring this up.
Mm-hmm.
The Sharks posted a graphic, I don't know if you know this said graphic, but this said graphic says last year was close. This year won't be.
Last year was close. This year won't be.
What do you think
Oh,
about
I
that?
see.
Or do you?
The way I view it is like too many people take things to heart and they take things personally.
Mhm.
I think that's just a blanketed statement throughout the whole season because last year they were close to winning. So I
Mhm.
view it as like they were close to winning the season last year. This season, they believe themselves it won't be close and they'll just like run away with it. That's fine.
Okay.
Because I mean, if you look at it, at what portion during the championship match was it close on the scoreboard side of things? You know, and so and I'm
At the
just saying
very
that's like,
beginning, 0-0.
yeah, well, there
That's
you
when it
go. And
was
then
the closest.
I could be viewed as an asshole for saying that, right? But like, I'm merely explaining like why I don't take it personally. Is like Fico would agree that like it wasn't that close throughout those first 7 races. Minus like partner forward was super close. The ladder had its moments where it was pretty close, and then the ringer point with Tristan and oh, I always forget his name. OnlyFans is what I called him, just because he's very public about it. Sorry, that's an asshole thing. I don't read into that shit. Like when people when people take offense to stuff on social media, I think they're stupid. In my
Yeah.
opinion, I think it's the dumbest fucking thing to do.
It's
Sorry.
no, it's I had to ask because there's obviously there's chirpings out there and I hear it. And I just wanted to get your take on that. But obviously, I mean, you got business to attend to. Like you don't have a whole lot of time, I'm assuming, to put into nonsense or to
No,
create
man, I got
nonsense out of nothing, you know.
no, like we're moving. I've had 16 people in my life since August died. I had to put my first
Oh,
dog down last month. Like I've got I've got a lot happening in my life. I don't give a fuck about that. Like I'm here to do my job as a coach, do it objectively, follow the instructions of Mia and John as their employee, quote unquote. Like that's what I'm gonna do here. I'm not gonna indulge in something that could be misconstrued, and also like there's always another side to the story. And I like Fico. I'm not gonna attack him on something like that. You know, it's
to clarify, I'd like Fico too.
oh, I
I've
know you
had
do.
nothing but great conversations. I thought it was poignant to bring up because of the chirpings that go with that. I was curious your thought on that.
Well, I'm honestly kind of taken aback. I didn't know there were chirpings happening because like nobody has said anything on the team at all. Um, it's that's unique actually thinking about it now because in the past I would hear about chirpings, but this season and last season not so much. Interesting.
It's good. Keeps your mind
Yeah,
clear. You can focus
yeah,
on the right things. Um,
it's true. Huh?
well, Dan, man, I'm not gonna take any more of your time. I appreciate you coming on, you joining us. Obviously, 2025 is gonna be probably one of the most anticipated seasons in Grid League to date. Is probably going to be one of the most like competitive. Obviously,
Oh yeah.
being the champion in 2024, that title gets removed on May 24th, and you get to embark on the journey of what it's like to defend it and get it again. So,
There you go.
but I wish you the best of luck. I hope everybody has a safe, injury-free, successful season. And who knows? It might be another magical season. We'll bring you back on. We'll recap it. We'll talk about it again. But anything you want to plug or promote before you get out of here?
I just want everybody to support this sport as much as possible. I appreciate you having me on here. Peace, love, harmony, I guess is what everyone says. No, no, not on here. It's going to be a fun season for sure, and it's going to be quite possibly the most stressful season I've ever been a part of.
Wow. But hey, if you win it all, would it be worth it?
Oh, of
It's got
course.
to
I
be.
mean, it's always worth it. I mean, if if it doesn't stress me out, what's the point?
Very true. If it's
No.
not keeping you up at night, then it's probably not important on your radar.
Oh, dude, I've lost hours of sleep with this sport. Hours. Worth it.
Well, Dan, I appreciate it, man. Go take care. For those of y'all that want more on Dan, Blacklisted Be the Exception podcast, I hear it there a lot. So obviously, if you want more from the mind of Dan, he's on there quite a bit. We'll see him on the grid 2025, May 24th, Miami, Florida. Sharks taking on the champs, the Atlanta Wild, and they're going to be led by none other than the coach, Dan Jackson. Dan, have a good one, man. Appreciate your time.
Appreciate you. Thank you, man.
Absolutely. That is Dan Jackson, head coach of the Atlanta Wild. If you like hearing Dan's story or you just like hearing average Joes talk X's and O's, please share the podcast on Facebook. Head over to YouTube, subscribe, notifications. That way you're one of the first to know when new content is dropped because they're dropping it all the time. And we will see everybody tomorrow. Got a good episode. Brielle Macarelli from the Palms will be on the Grid and Grind show talking to us about her story, talking to us about last season, talking about the 2025 season, a lot to unpack. So y'all stay tuned. Be with us tomorrow. As for me, this has been the In Off the Bench Podcast Network's Grid and Grind show. As always, remember, strong bodies, sharp minds, grid and grind all the time. We are out.